Hello everyone. Welcome to the second module of Introduction to Psychology. In this module, we will be talking about the psychology of sensory and perceptual processes. We will start with talking about sensation, attention, its types, and determinants. We will then talk about what is perception and what are its determinants. So, let us begin. Sensation is the process which enables us to obtain information from the outside world. We usually get the sensory information from the five sense organs and the various receptor cells that are attached to them. Without sensation, it would not be possible to have any information to be processed by our brain. We can thus say that it is the sensory processes which paves the way for higher order mental processing. You must have heard a lot of times when people ask you to pay attention to what they are saying or to something that is happening around you. At any given moment of time, human beings are surrounded by a number of stimuli. However, we only pay attention to some of them, and some of them go unnoticed. The process through which we select certain stimuli over the others and take them forward for further processing is called attention. Attention is the process where we ignore the less important information and focus on the information which is more important. Let us now talk about the types of attention. Involuntary attention is something that arises out of practice, habituation, or instinct. Such type of attention does not need any conscious effort from our sides. For example, a very loud noise or a very bright light are highly likely to catch your attention immediately. Or a crying baby's voice is bound to make the mother respond to it immediately, no matter when or where is it happening. The second type of attention is voluntary or volitional attention. This type of attention requires conscious efforts by the individual to pay attention to a certain stimulus in order to process it further. For example, paying attention in a maths class so that you are able to solve a numerical problem yourself later. The next and a very interesting type of attention is selective attention. Selective attention can be defined as the process where an individual chooses to pay attention only to a specific stimulus despite of a variety of stimuli available in the environment. For example, suppose you are in a party and everybody is talking and there is a loud humming sound all around. Nothing is clearly audible, but you listen your name being taken somewhere and your attention immediately shifts to that conversation. Now you are ignoring all the other conversations going on and focus completely on that particular conversation, which means you have selected a stimulus which you want to focus your attention on. Another very commonly seen type of attention is divided attention. Divided attention is sometimes also called multitasking. In this process, an individual pays attention to two or more stimuli simultaneously and is able to process all of them. Multitasking is a commonly observed phenomena and many people are able to successfully master it. Let us now discuss some factors which influence or determine the extent or the nature of attention. External determinants of attention are the factors which are present in the external environment and influence an individual from there. The first external determinant of attention is the nature of the stimuli. All types of stimuli are processed similarly by our brain, but certain stimuli are bound to gain more attention than the others. For example, the TV might be in your house and you did not pay attention on it, even if it was playing, but as soon as your favorite song starts playing on it, you suddenly pay attention to it. The next external determinant of attention is the intensity and size of the stimulus. A stimulus which is large in size will be noticed by you first as compared to a small one. Similarly, a stimulus which is high in intensity, such as a loud noise or a very bright light, are bound to capture your attention more quickly than the stimuli which are weak in intensity. The next external determinant of attention is contrast, variety, or change in the stimuli or the surroundings. Whenever there is a change in your environment that breaks the monotony or the routine, it is registered very quickly in your brain and immediately strikes your attention. For example, when you used to come home from school, your mother used to open the door for you, and you never took it as something different or something unique. But one day, if she is not there and somebody else opens the door, your first question would be, where is my mother? Because there is a change in your routine, there is somebody else on the door. Another important external determinant of attention is the amount of time or the number of times you have been exposed to a certain stimulus. It might happen that at first you did not pay attention to it, but after repeated exposure, you started noticing. Can you think of any example which explains this? Let us now talk about the internal determinants of attention. All the internal factors present within an individual which determine that to which particular stimuli will an individual pay attention first are known as internal determinants of attention. The first such factor is interest. Whenever you enter a mall or a supermarket, some of you look at the chocolates first, some of you look at the new clothes first, while some of you look at the latest shoe collection. We are all very likely to pay more attention to the things we are interested in. The second determinant of attention is motive. Suppose you are very thirsty. You open the fridge, you take out the water bottle and drink the water. In this process, you may even ignore the piece of cake that was lying in the fridge. Why did that happen? It happened because your body had an urgent need of water which motivated you to quench your thirst, and you ignored all other stimuli present around. The third factor is mindset. Mindset is basically a state of mind or a state of preparedness wherein an individual is already anticipating or expecting something. In such a situation, a person is more likely to pay attention to the stimuli which corresponds to his or her expectations. Another determinant of attention is a person's attitude or mood. Whenever you are in a bad mood, you are more likely to pay attention to all the negative things which have happened in your life or are happening right now. Whereas, if you are in a positive or a good mood, you are more likely to look at the bright side of things. Similarly, your attitudes influence the way you look at a stimulus, because your attitudes help you to to make a positive or negative evaluation of a stimulus. Let us now talk about the process of perception. What happens to the stimulus you have paid attention to? Let us take again the example of the party. You suddenly hear your name being taken and you pay attention to that conversation. What next? You will now start processing the conversation followed by your name, and you begin to grasp the pretext and the context of that conversation. And then you try to interpret what kind of a chat people are doing about you. This process, followed by attention, wherein an organism actively organizes and interprets information using the cues in his present environment as well as his past experiences, is called perception. We can also say that perception is a process which involves receiving, selecting, organizing, interpreting, and giving meaning to any event or a stimulus. This picture shows you the process of perception, where first of all a stimulus is selected by us through a process of attention, and that selected stimulus is then organized and interpreted with the help of existing knowledge and experience, and then we respond or react to it. Let us now talk about the determinants of perception. The internal factors or internal determinants of perception are the attributes which are present within an individual and determine the way he perceives things. The first internal determinant of perception is self-concept. Self-concept consists of all the views one holds about oneself, or the way the individual sees the world. Self-concept directly affects the way an individual perceives others or the things and events which are happening around him. So whatever your self-concept is, it is going to affect your perceptual selectivity. It means it will affect the things that you attend to, and it will also affect the way you react to them. Suppose if somebody feels lowly of oneself or has inferiority in him, that is his self-concept. He might not be an inferior person, he might be a very good person, but his self-concept is otherwise. Such person may not perceive healthy criticism in a healthy manner. Such person might get irritated or might even get frustrated from healthy criticism and may not take it sportingly. The second determinant of perception is beliefs. If you hold certain beliefs, whether they are positive beliefs or negative beliefs like prejudices or stereotypes, they will directly cloud your judgment. Your beliefs influence the way you interpret any information. A black cat, for example, who's crossing a road, is perceived as a bad omen by many people. Why does it happen? It happens because of your beliefs. For some people, it is just an animal who is walking by, and for some, it is a bad omen. It is all a matter of your beliefs, that the way you have perceived or interpreted a moving animal. The next internal determinant of perception is expectations. If you are already expecting something, it will influence the way you are looking at your surroundings and interpreting the things which are happening to you. If you were expecting something good to happen, you will find something good and positive in everything around you. Whereas, if you were expecting that something bad will happen to you, even the slightest negative thing will get the biggest attention from you, and it will be further supporting your expectation that something bad is going to happen. And then you will be perceiving your whole day as negative or bad. The last internal factor to be discussed is needs. Needs have a great influence on what you think and how you behave. Different needs might be leading to the perception of a similar situation in different ways. Suppose there is a slum area. The people who are homeless and need a place to live see that slum as their home. Whereas there is this builder who wants to earn more money and gain a name or fame, he might see the same slum area as a potential site for a mall or a building or an apartment, and he will want to clear out all the slum and all the small houses from there, and he would want all the poor people, the homeless people, to leave that place immediately. So the same stimulus, the slum, has two different responses because the people looking at it have different needs. Let us now talk about the external factors of perception. The first external factor is the nature of the stimulus. There must have been certain specific characters of the stimulus which brought it to your attention at the first place. These characteristics will greatly influence the way we will perceive that stimulus. Suppose I hear my name being taken at a party, and when I pay attention, I see that it's somebody who I don't like who is taking my name. And I am now highly likely to believe that the person is talking nonsense about me. Why does that happen? Because such was the nature of the stimulus. The stimulus here was that person whom I don't like at all taking my name. So my perception was a negative one. The second external factor which determines the way you perceive an information or an event is cultural norms. Different cultures look at similar phenomena differently. For example, marrying the same sex or homosexuality may be perceived absolutely normally in the Western cultures, but in Indian traditions it is still a prohibited and a tabooed matter of fact. I know that government has made modern laws, liberal laws, but if you go stick to the cultural norms, you will find it as not very casually accepted. The next external determinant of perception is perceptual organization. All the processes of perception take place in our perceptual field. Perceptual field is basically an area which is created by your mind wherein it places objects or stimuli to interpret them better, to process them better. The way something is positioned or organized in your perceptual field will influence the way you see it. For example, if you see your notebook on which another book is already kept, you will still have a complete picture in your perceptual field of that notebook, and you will be able to recognize, okay, below this book lies my notebook. The last determinant of perception is the environmental factors. Environmental factors refer to the situations or events happening in your surroundings while you are involved in the process of interpreting an object. The situational factors or the environmental factors influence your perceptions a lot. Suppose I'm late for office today and I'm very annoyed by it, and then I got 3 red lights on my way as well. And then at one signal there is this person in front of me whose car is not starting. And that person is blocking my way. I can't move because that person is not moving. Now this person is all sorry and embarrassed and is continuously apologizing to me for not being able to do anything. But what will be my reaction? How will I perceive this situation? I will not pay attention to the sorries and the apologies of that individual. Rather than all my attention will be in interpreting how bad the day is. how I am late for office today, and how I am being scolded today, or how will I not be able to work as much as I thought I would. So the situations, the red lights, my being late, some other person's car being damaged, or some other person's car being at fault and not starting, that is not something which I did. It was all in my surroundings happening there, but it affected the way I am looking at things. It affects the way I am perceiving somebody's apology. I'm not taking the apology sincerely, rather I am annoyed by the fact I'll be late today. So, this was all about attention and perceptual processes. I hope to see you all in the third module. Meanwhile, I have a reflective spot for you all, wherein I leave some questions for you to think about. When you think about these questions and their answers, you might get some very interesting responses. Do think about them, guys. See you in the next module. Thank you so much.